In Luke 8:25, Jesus asks his disciples, "Where is your faith?" After calming a storm on the Sea of Galilee. The disciples are frightened and amazed by his power, recognizing that he commands even the wind and waves, according to Bible Gateway. The disciples were worried about the storm while Jesus slept. Still, when they called on him, Jesus answered and silenced the wind and waves with a word. The disciples were amazed at Jesus' authority, while Jesus questioned their lack of faith. As followers of Jesus, we are reminded that when we see that Jesus is not worried about our situation, it is a sure sign that we should not be worried either. Luke 8:25 is part of a broader narrative in Luke 8:22-25, where Jesus and his disciples are sailing across the Sea of Galilee. A fierce storm suddenly arises, and the boat is in danger of being overwhelmed. The disciples, fearing for their lives, wake Jesus and plead for help. Jesus rebukes the wind and waves, and the storm immediately subsides. After calming the storm, Jesus asks, "Where is your faith?" according to Bible Gateway. This question highlights the disciples' lack of faith and trust in Jesus' power to control even natural forces like the wind and waves. The disciples are filled with fear and amazement at Jesus' command over nature. They are prompted to ask one another, "Who is this man? He commands even the winds and the waves, and they obey him," according to Bible Gateway. This verse emphasizes Jesus' divine authority and power over nature, which should inspire faith and trust in him. What is the meaning of Luke 8:25? In Luke 8:25, Jesus, after calming a violent storm on the Sea of Galilee, rebukes his disciples for their lack of faith, asking, "Where is your faith?" He then acknowledges their awe and wonder at his power, prompting them to ask, "Who then is this that he commands even the winds and water, and they obey him?" The disciples were in a boat with Jesus when a fierce storm arose. They were terrified and woke Jesus, who was asleep, begging for help. Jesus calms the storm. Jesus rebukes the wind and waves, and they obey him, calming the storm. After the storm, Jesus questions the disciples about their faith. "Where is your faith?" The disciples are filled with awe and wonder, saying, "Who then is this that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him?" Lack of faith. Jesus' question highlights the disciples' lack of faith and trust in his power and authority, even after witnessing numerous miracles. Acknowledging power. The disciples' reaction acknowledges Jesus' power and authority over nature, prompting them to question his identity. Faith as a choice. The story illustrates that faith is not a feeling but a choice that requires active trust and obedience, even in the face of overwhelming circumstances. Jesus' divine authority. The incident reinforces the divine nature of Jesus and his ability to control the forces of nature. Picture this: a raging storm on the Sea of Galilee, waves crashing, wind howling, and the disciples, experienced fishermen, are terrified for their lives. Yet there's Jesus peacefully sleeping through it all. When they wake him in panic, he simply stands up, commands the storm to cease, and immediately complete calm. Then comes this powerful moment. Jesus turns to his disciples and asks, "Where is your faith?" They're left utterly amazed, whispering among themselves, "Who is this man? Even the winds and water obey him." What does Jesus mean when he says, "Where is your faith?" Jesus' question challenged them to reflect on their level of faith in him and his power. He used the storm as a teaching moment to demonstrate that even in the face of chaos and danger, we can have faith and trust in him. Think about it. The same Jesus who calmed that storm is still in control today. When life's storms hit, and they will, remember this scene. The question isn't about the size of the storm. It's about the size of your faith in the one who commands it. "Where is your faith?" in Luke 8:25. ESV, he said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, "Who then is this that he commands even winds and water, and they obey him?" "Niv, where is your faith?" he asked his disciples. How many times did Jesus say, "Where is your faith?" Jesus said the exact words, "Where is your faith?" one time in Scriptures. It is found in Luke 8:25. He said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, "Who then is this that he commands even winds and water, and they obey him?" Let's pray. God, you are the creator of all things, and you have authority over all of heaven and earth. As I come before you with my worries and my fears, I turn to your calming presence. Teach me to trust in your power, in your love, and in your authority. Thank you for giving me the assurance that you are in control. In Jesus' name, amen.